What is up, viewer out there watching this video? Larrox back here, bringing you this time another episode of Why I Want, the series where we take a look at prospects in the 2019 NHL Entry Draft, and I talk about why I'd want them for the Canucks. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, I think this video is going to be out a little bit earlier. That's because it is game day, and I wouldn't want to schedule a video that interferes right when people are watching the main Canucks team. So that's what we're going to do here. This video is out a little bit early. This is a Why I Want on Bowen Byram, and just to get things out of the way, I don't need to tell you guys how good Bowen Byram is, because I think everybody kind of knows that. We will go into a little bit of depth as to how he plays and how good I believe he is, but to me, Bowen Byram is in the range of guaranteed top 4 and probably top 5 in this NHL draft. So if the Vancouver Canucks find themselves in a top 3 spot, you know where I'm looking. Yeah, this is exactly where I'm looking. Bowen Byram is the best defenseman in the draft. Just going over his Vancouver Giants numbers right here: 71 points, 67 games played, 26 goals. Yeah, Bowen Byram got 26 goals, and he was actually really highly placed on his team in terms of points. He was second on his team on the Giants in points. In terms of goals, Byram was third as a defenseman. And that is absolutely crazy to think about. Going over to the WHL in its entirety, Bowen Byram was third in points. He had more points than Ty Smith, who went in the first round of last year's NHL draft. And overall, Byram beat out all these draft plus 1 guys. He got Jet Wu under his sights, Kalen Addison he had more points than. And this is Bowen Byram's U18 year, so obviously his year, which is his draft year, has been better than all of these guys. And it's because of this that people are always labeling Byram as this new age, coming of talent, offensive defenseman. And to me, that's great. It's awesome because he is that good. But in my opinion, I would actually argue that Byram is as good at defense as he is at offense, which is really scary to think about, which is why, if Bowen Byram finds his way onto the Vancouver Canucks, first off, he's staying home, guys. If you're from Vancouver, you know who Bowen Byram is. He's everywhere. With the WHL playoffs going on, Byram's name is all over the radio. He's probably already accustomed to being here, and the fact that Bowen Byram is a Cranbrook, BC native, he would mostly be staying home if he was drafted by the Canucks. But if we draft Bowen Byram, that ultimately completes our left side, basically for the next 10 years. Quinn Hughes, Bowen Byram, and Olio Levy as your left-handed defenseman. That is actually crazy, and honestly, that could be the best left side the Vancouver Canucks... Well, it would be the best left side the Vancouver Canucks would ever have, but it could probably be the best left side in the league if all of these guys panned out. Now, if we drafted Byram, I would personally like to see Hughes move to the right side. We have seen Hughes, even as recently as this year, play on that right side. That game where Luke Shen got himself a 5-minute major for fighting was a great example, because Edler and Hughes was our top pairing for a little bit. That was cool. So if Bowen Byram finds his way onto Vancouver, he would ultimately submit himself as a top 2 defender for basically the next 10 years. Him and Hughes would carry the defensive load, and honestly, Byram is such a safe pick in my opinion, and he's so guaranteed to hit his potential that there's a reason I have him at 3rd. I have him above Turcotte, I have him above Zegras, Cousins, and Krebs. Byram is just so solid. And I said this in my draft rankings video, I'll say it again. Byram to me has a chance to really solidify himself as a top 5, top 4 defender in the NHL by the time he hits his prime. He's going to be in that conversation with guys like Dahlin, Hughes, Makar, Heiskanen, even some of the older guys, Provorov and Werenski. Byram is in that class of elite top 2 defenders, and I think that he will certainly fulfill that role going into the NHL. Probably as soon as he hits 23, 24, he's already going to be in that role. And to me, Byram is just so strong in terms of his hockey sense that there's a reason Byram has been scouted by people ever since he was like 15. Seriously. I'm from Vancouver myself, and I've been hearing about Byram's name for years. Years! It's been years since my friends have been looking at Byram and looking at his very first WHL season, 2016-17, where he played 11 games. All of us were looking at that like, whoa, this guy's 15 and he's playing in the WHL. That's cool. And we were like, yeah, he's going to become great. And Byram is a guy who exhibits so many great things on the ice, aside from his offensive talent. He's a smooth skater, he can break the puck up well, he's safe in his own zone, and he's calm. He's essentially the epitome of a safe, reliable defender. He does everything right in the defensive zone, and Byram is just a guy who could put up points too, as exhibited by his year. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Dahlin. If he was Dahlin, he'd probably go first overall, but Byram can be in that conversation to maybe win a Norris once or twice in his career. I have no doubt about that. Which is why if the Vancouver Canucks find themselves winning like the 3rd overall lottery or something like that, I'd be perfectly fine with going for Bowen Byram. Because he's such a strong skater, he's such a fluid puck passer, he's great offensively, and alongside of Hughes, we would have a really strong defensive core. Add to that guys like Jet Wu, Troy Stetcher, Olio Levy like I mentioned, Byram could be one of the last pieces to our core. Sure, he's left-handed, but he's really good. There's a reason I have him at 3. Taking a look at some of the older WHL seasons and some of these previous defender guys that we've seen in their U18 years, Byram has been putting up numbers that we haven't seen in a while, going all the way back to 2000-2001. In terms of defender U18 points, Bowen Byram is 3rd, to Ian White and Ty Smith. Now, Ty Smith, that was last year. I did say we haven't seen these numbers in a while, but Ty Smith and Byram each had the same points per game. Taking a look at the points per game category, Byram is tied for 2nd, and he's got more points and points per game than guys like Morgan Riley. Guys like Cam Barker, Chris Russell, Tyson Barrie, Shea Theodore, Dustin Bufflin, Henry Yokiharju, Josh Morrissey, the list goes on of players that Byram has beaten. And it's honestly incredible just to see how good he is. Now, I know Ty Smith did have the same amount of numbers and points per game and all that, but Byram, in my mind, is way better all around than Ty Smith is, which is why Ty Smith did drop down to 17th overall in the draft last year. Ty Smith also played behind Jared Anderson-Dolan and Hudson Elniuk, playing for the Spokane Chiefs. That was an incredible team. So Byram, in my mind, has played for a little bit of a worse team, has shown the same offensive skills, and a better two-way game too. Because as I said, in my opinion, Byram is as good defensively as he is offensively, which is kind of crazy to think about. And that's why I want Bowen Byram. Seriously, imagine the roar if the Vancouver Canucks drafted Bowen Byram from the Vancouver Giants in Vancouver. That would be nuts. Hope you guys enjoyed. This video Blessing, that's Troll 9 Gaming, and bye.